Have you ever felt betrayed or abandoned by those you trusted the most? Or perhaps you've had moments where life seemed to throw one challenge after another at you with no end in sight. Today, we'll dive into a story that speaks directly to these feelings, a story thousands of years old, yet more relevant than ever. This is the story of Joseph, a man who turned his deepest struggles into unimaginable triumph. Get comfortable. This is a tale that will inspire your faith and leave you amazed. We begin in the land of Canaan, where Jacob, also known as Israel, was raising his 12 sons. Of all his sons, Joseph, the second youngest, was his favorite, the child of his old age. Jacob loved Joseph so deeply that he made him a beautiful, ornate coat of many colors. The coat became a symbol of favoritism, and this stirred envy in Joseph's older brothers. Joseph was not just a favorite son, he was also gifted with extraordinary dreams. But these dreams would soon cause even more friction. One night, Joseph dreamed he and his brothers were gathering sheaves of grain in the field. In the dream, Joseph's sheaf stood upright, while his brothers' sheaves gathered around and bowed to it. Another dream followed. The sun, the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to him. When Joseph shared these dreams with his family, his brothers became furious. "What? Shall you reign over us?" they mocked. Even Jacob, loving Joseph as he did, chastised him for the dreams. But in his heart, Jacob wondered what they meant. The seeds of betrayal took root. One day, when Joseph's brothers were tending sheep far from home, Jacob sent him to check on them. As the brothers saw Joseph approaching in his colorful coat, their anger boiled over. "Here comes the dreamer!" they shouted. They plotted to kill him, but Reuben, the eldest, convinced them not to shed blood. Instead, they threw Joseph into a dry pit, intending to leave him there to die. But the plan took a darker twist. While Reuben was away, the brothers saw a caravan of Ishmaelite traders passing by. Greed triumphed over conscience, and they sold Joseph to the traders as a slave for 20 pieces of silver. With Joseph gone, they soaked his coat in goat's blood and took it to their father. Jacob was heartbroken. He believed his beloved son had been devoured by a wild animal. Meanwhile, Joseph was taken to Egypt, far from the life he had known, stripped of his freedom and his family. In Egypt, Joseph was sold to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh. Despite his dire circumstances, Joseph thrived. His faith in God never wavered, and God blessed him. Everything Joseph touched prospered, and soon Potiphar entrusted his entire household to Joseph's care. But new trials awaited. Potiphar's wife began to take notice of Joseph's good looks and tried to seduce him. When Joseph refused, loyal to both God and his master, she falsely accused him of attempted assault. Potiphar was enraged and had Joseph thrown into prison. Alone and confined, it would have been easy for Joseph to give in to despair. But once again, his faith sustained him. Even in prison, the Lord was with Joseph, and he found favor in the sight of the warden. Soon, Joseph was put in charge of all the prisoners. Among them were Pharaoh's chief cupbearer and baker, who were also confined for offenses against the king. One night, both men had dreams they could not understand. Joseph, acknowledging that interpretations belonged to God, offered to help. The cupbearer dreamed of a vine with 3 branches. It budded, blossomed, and produced ripe grapes, which he pressed into Pharaoh's cup. Joseph interpreted this dream, explaining that in 3 days, the cupbearer would be restored to his position. The baker's dream, however, foretold a darker fate. In his dream, 3 baskets of bread were on his head, but birds were eating the bread from the top basket. Joseph explained that in 3 days, the baker would be executed. Both interpretations proved accurate. Before the cupbearer was released, Joseph asked him to remember him to Pharaoh, but the cupbearer forgot Joseph as he returned to his position. 2 years passed, and Joseph remained in prison. But one night, Pharaoh himself had 2 troubling dreams. In one dream, 7 fat cows were grazed by 7 thin cows, which devoured them. In the second dream, 7 healthy grains were swallowed up by 7 thin and scorched grains. None of Pharaoh's wise men could interpret the dreams. Finally, the cupbearer remembered Joseph and told Pharaoh about him. Joseph was quickly summoned. Standing before Pharaoh, Joseph declared, "I cannot do it, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he desires." He interpreted the dreams, revealing that the 7 cows and grains represented 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. Joseph advised Pharaoh to prepare by storing surplus grain during the plentiful years. Seeing Joseph's wisdom and discernment, Pharaoh appointed him as governor of Egypt, second only to himself. From the pit of a prison to the heights of power, Joseph's life transformed dramatically. During the years of abundance, Joseph oversaw the collection and storage of grain. Then, as the famine spread, people from all surrounding lands came to Egypt, seeking food. Among them were Joseph's own brothers, who did not recognize him. It had been years since they last saw him, and they assumed him long gone. Joseph, however, recognized them immediately. What would you have done in Joseph's position? Confront them in anger? Rejoice in their suffering? Not Joseph. He decided to test them. Joseph accused them of being spies and demanded they prove their integrity by bringing their youngest brother, Benjamin, to Egypt. The brothers' guilt over their treatment of Joseph began to surface, though they still did not realize who he was. When Benjamin finally arrived with them, Joseph hosted a feast. He placed his silver cup in Benjamin's sack and later accused them of theft. This final test revealed their change of heart. Judah, one of the brothers, offered himself as a slave in Benjamin's place, demonstrating their genuine remorse and love for their younger sibling. At this, Joseph could no longer contain himself. He wept loudly and revealed his identity, saying, "I am your brother Joseph, the one you sold into Egypt. Do not be distressed or angry with yourselves, because it was to save lives that God sent me ahead of you." Joseph embraced his brothers, forgiving them completely. He invited his entire family to live in Egypt, where he provided for them during the famine. Jacob, overjoyed to find his beloved son alive, reunited with Joseph. The family, once fractured by jealousy and betrayal, was healed through Joseph's love and forgiveness. Joseph's story is one of resilience, faith, and the power of forgiveness. What could have been a tale of vengeance and bitterness became instead a testament to God's divine plan. What challenges are you facing today that you could leave in God's hands, trusting in His greater purpose? Remember Joseph, a man who rose from the pit to the palace by trusting in God every step of the way.